3 weeks ago, I stood at the epicenter of a corporate earthquake no one saw coming. When 12 people I once led walked out of that building simultaneously, abandoning a $100 million project midstream, the board thought it was just personnel turbulence. But really, it was a death sentence for someone who'd treated us like nameless cogs in his machine. And the most delicious part? He lit the fuse himself. My name is Amelia Rowe. And for 6 years, I built something extraordinary at Vantage Core Solutions, not just a department, but a family, forged in the trenches of impossible deadlines and coffee-fueled debugging sessions. As head of core systems, I didn't inherit a dream team. Hell no. I handpicked every single one of them from the overlooked corners of the tech world. Take Marcus, for instance. Kid dropped out of community college, taught himself Rust from YouTube videos, and was stocking shelves at Best Buy when I found him. His GitHub repository had more elegant solutions than most MIT grads I'd interviewed. Or Sarah, single mom of twins, self-taught database architect who'd been passed over by 3 companies because she didn't have the right pedigree. Within 6 months under my wing, she was optimizing queries that saved us millions in server costs. That was my philosophy. Forget the Ivy League credentials and the perfectly polished resumes. Give me hunger. Give me raw talent. Give me someone who's been told no so many times that when they finally hear yes, they'll move mountains to prove you right. And God, did we move mountains? Within 2 years, my ragtag band of misfits had reduced system errors by 45%. We doubled deployment speed while everyone else was still arguing about methodology in their stand-ups. The COO himself, a silver-haired fossil who still thought the cloud was just weather, personally thanked us at the company town hall. Though, honestly, watching him try to pronounce Kubernetes was worth more than any bonus. We had our own little culture, our own language. Friday afternoons were fuck-up Fridays, where we'd share our worst code mistakes of the week. No judgment, just learning. We had a shrine to the coffee machine. May she rest in peace after the great overflow incident of 2022. And our unofficial motto, scrawled on a whiteboard that somehow became permanent fixture: keep the talent, drop the ego. The thing about building a team from scratch is that loyalty isn't just given. It's earned through every late-night debugging session, every defended mistake, every raise I fought for behind closed doors. When Jennifer's father got diagnosed with cancer, I personally rewrote the entire Q3 schedule so she could work remotely from hospice. When Ray's startup idea needed seed funding, I connected him with my old Stanford roommate who ran a VC firm, even knowing he might leave us someday. That's what they never understood upstairs in their glass offices. We weren't just employees punching code. We were architects of the invisible infrastructure that kept their precious stock price climbing quarter after quarter. Every seamless transaction, every millisecond of uptime, every satisfied enterprise client who renewed their $1 million contracts, that was us, working magic in the basement while they took credit in the boardroom. By year 6, we were untouchable. Or so I thought. Our dashboard metrics were pristine green across the board. Client satisfaction scores hit 97%, unheard of in enterprise software. My team had grown from 6 to 12, each person specifically chosen not just for their skills, but for how they'd mesh with our beautiful, dysfunctional family. I remember the exact moment I knew we'd made it. It was a Thursday evening, around 7 p.m. I walked through our floor, and instead of the usual frustrated cursing at monitors, I heard laughter. Marcus was teaching the newer devs his infamous programming via interpretive dance method. Sarah had brought in homemade cookies shaped like various programming languages' logos. They were happy. In tech. At 7 p.m. on a Thursday. That should have been my warning sign. In corporate America, happiness is just the calm before someone upstairs decides you need disruption. But that night, watching my team collaborate on the Morrison Industries integration, our biggest project yet, worth a potential $100 million in recurring revenue, I felt untouchable. We had 2 more months to deliver, and we were ahead of schedule. The architecture was solid. The team was in perfect sync. I should have known better. I should have remembered that in this world, The moment you build something beautiful is exactly when someone shows up with a wrecking ball. And his name was Clive Roston. Clive Roston arrived on a Monday morning in March, strutting through our floor like a peacock who'd accidentally wandered into a server farm. 6'3", silver temples, Armani suit that probably cost more than Marcus's monthly rent, and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. The email announcing his position as the new director of product development had landed in our inboxes exactly 3 minutes before his grand entrance. Classic power move. "I'm what you call a change catalyst," he announced, gathering us around like kindergartners for story time. "I've transformed 7 companies from good to great. VantageCore brought me in to shake things up, break some eggs, make the omelet of innovation." Sarah and I exchanged glances. Anyone who unironically uses the phrase omelet of innovation has never written a line of code in their life. I was right. Clive's LinkedIn, which he'd somehow already connected with all of us before his first day, was a masterpiece of corporate buzzword bingo. Synergy architect, digital transformation evangelist, thought leader in disruptive paradigms, 10 years at McKinsey, 5 at Deloitte, and not a single technical role in sight. The man probably thought Python was just a snake and Java was only coffee. But fine, I'd worked with non-technical executives before. As long as they stayed in their lane and let us do our jobs, we could coexist. I even extended an olive branch, scheduling a one-on-one to walk him through our roadmap, our processes, the Morrison Industries integration that was our current focus. Big mistake. "This is all very thorough," he said, scrolling through my documentation with the enthusiasm of someone reading terms and conditions. "But don't you think it's a bit, how should I put this, over-engineered? All these code reviews, these testing phases, seems like babysitting to me." "It's called quality assurance," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Our error rate is the lowest in the industry because—" "Error rates are vanity metrics," he interrupted, waving his hand like he was swatting a fly. "Speed to market, that's what matters. Move fast and break things, right? That's the Silicon Valley way. We're not a startup, Clive. We're handling financial data for Fortune 500 companies. We can't afford to break things." He leaned back, that snake oil smile spreading wider. "That's exactly the kind of rigid thinking I'm here to fix." Within a week, he'd scheduled alignment sessions with each of my team members, individually, without me. When Jennifer emerged from hers, she looked like she'd been interrogated by the CIA. "He asked me if I thought our processes were unnecessarily bureaucratic," she said, slumping into her chair. Then he asked if I felt my potential was being fully actualized under current leadership. He asked me who really makes the technical decisions," Ray added, rolling over in his chair. "When I said you do, he wrote something in his little notebook and made this weird humming sound." Marcus was more direct. "That dude's trying to undermine you. Like, it's not even subtle." They were right. By week 2, Clive had started showing up to our stand-ups, not to listen, but to challenge our assumptions. He'd interrupt Sarah mid-sentence to ask if we'd considered leveraging blockchain for a simple database migration. He suggested we pivot to AI for a project that had nothing to do with machine learning. It was like watching someone play buzzword bingo with our actual work. But the real signal of his intentions came during week 3. I received a meeting invite, strategic realignment discussion with Clive and the entire C-suite. My invitation came exactly 15 minutes before the meeting started. Barely enough time to prepare anything. I walked into that boardroom to find Clive already mid-presentation. My team's roadmap projected on the screen, except it wasn't my roadmap anymore. He'd completely rewritten it, removing all our testing phases, cutting our timeline in half, and adding something called agile velocity maximization, which, as far as I could tell, meant doing everything faster with no concern for quality. "Amelia," the CEO said, barely looking up from his phone. "Clive's been sharing some innovative ideas about accelerating our delivery. Thoughts?" I stood there, looking at 3 months of careful planning torn apart by someone who probably couldn't debug a Hello World program, and realized this wasn't about innovation or efficiency. This was a coup. I think, I said slowly, meeting Clive's smug gaze, that Mr. Roston's enthusiasm is admirable, but perhaps he'd benefit from understanding what we actually do before redesigning how we do it. The room went silent. Clive's smile flickered, just for a second, revealing something cold underneath. Of course, he said smoothly. I'm all about collaboration. Perhaps Amelia and I should sync up offline to align our visions. Translation: Your days are numbered. As I walked back to my floor, my phone buzzed with texts from my team. They'd all gotten calendar invites from Clive for career development discussions over the next week. The war had begun. The first public execution happened in front of Morrison Industries, our biggest client. We were 3 weeks into Clive's reign of terror when the video call connected. 22 people on screen, Morrison's entire technical team, their CTO, our CEO, and of course, Clive, who'd somehow positioned himself as co-lead on the presentation. I was presenting our integration timeline when young Tommy, one of our newest developers, started explaining the security protocols we'd implemented. So we're using a multi-layer encryption approach with, Tommy began. Let me stop you right there. Clive interrupted, his face filling the screen as he leaned toward his camera. I think what Tommy is trying to say, in layman's terms that everyone can understand, is that we're using basic security, nothing too complicated. Tommy's face went red. Actually, it's a sophisticated. Tommy. Clive's voice dripped condescension. I'm sure you understand the technical details, but let's not overwhelm our partners with minutia that's frankly above their pay grade. Or yours, for that matter. The Morrison CTO's eyebrows shot up. Actually, we'd very much like to hear the technical details. That's why we're here. But the damage was done. Tommy looked like he'd been slapped. The kid had a master's from Carnegie Mellon, had personally designed our entire encryption framework, and Clive had just reduced him to a child reciting words he didn't understand. I apologize for my team's tendency to overcomplicate things. Clive continued, ignoring me completely. Under new leadership, we're focusing on streamlined communication. My team, new leadership, every word was calculated. After the call, I went straight to HR. Not to complain about hurt feelings or personality conflicts, but with documentation. Screenshots of Clive overriding technical decisions without consultation. Emails where he'd contradicted security protocols. The recording of him dismissing Tommy's expertise in front of a client worth $100 million. Nancy from HR listened with that practice-neutral expression they must teach in HR school. She took notes. She nodded sympathetically. She said all the right things about taking concerns seriously and investigating thoroughly. 3 days later, I got her response. After careful review, we found that Mr. Roston's communication style, while direct, falls within acceptable parameters. Some employees find his fresh perspective invigorating. We encourage you to adapt to different leadership styles as part of your professional growth. Attached was a PDF about embracing change in the workplace. I read it 3 times, each time hoping the words would somehow rearrange themselves into something that didn't sound like corporate gaslighting. But no. They were telling me that public humiliation was just a communication style. That undermining technical expertise was a fresh perspective. Sarah found me in the parking garage that evening, sitting in my car, still holding that printed email. He told the infrastructure team to skip load testing, she said without preamble. Just straight up told them your protocols were outdated bureaucracy and to push directly to production. When? This afternoon, while you were in HR. I laughed. Actually laughed. Because what else do you do when someone is actively sabotaging everything you've built while HR sends you PDFs about embracing change? We could go to the CEO, Sarah suggested. With what? Clive's his golden boy, brought in specifically to shake things up. We'd look like we're resistant to change, stuck in our ways, all the things they already think about technical people. The next morning, Clive escalated. He scheduled a process optimization meeting and invited the entire department. Standing at the whiteboard like a professor teaching kindergarten, he drew what he called the new velocity framework, essentially our entire workflow with all the safety checks removed. Quality assurance is fear-based thinking, he announced. We need to be bold, aggressive, move at the speed of innovation. Jennifer raised her hand. What about the Morrison integration? We can't just... Can't is not in my vocabulary. Clive interrupted. And it shouldn't be in yours either. Unless you're not confident in your abilities. The room went silent. Jennifer, who'd been with me for 4 years, who'd never missed a deadline, who'd personally saved us from 3 potential data breaches, was being gaslit into questioning her own competence. I stood up. Jennifer's abilities aren't in question. Your understanding of what we do is... Clive turned to me, and for the first time, he dropped the fake smile entirely. Amelia, I understand this is difficult for you. Change always is for those who've gotten comfortable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. Maybe you should ask yourself if you're still the right fit for this team's future direction. There it was, the threat, delivered in front of 40 people. Marcus stood up so fast his chair rolled backward. This is bullshit. Marcus, I warned, but he was already walking out, one by one. My core team followed. Not dramatically, not making a scene, just quietly leaving Clive standing there with his stupid framework and his empty buzzwords. That night, I updated my LinkedIn profile for the first time in 6 years, and I wasn't the only one. Within an hour, I had 12 notifications. Sarah Williams updated her profile. Marcus Johnson added new skills. Jennifer Martinez updated her headline. My phone rang at 11 p.m., a number I'd saved but never expected to call. Amelia? It's Elise Navarro from Nova Forge Labs. I see you're updating your profile. Having second thoughts about that offer I made last year? I looked at the email from HR still on my laptop screen, then at the messages from my team in our private Slack channel, each one sharing their latest Clive encounter. Elise, I said, let's talk. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. Mandatory attendance. The email subject line read, Exciting organizational enhancements. In corporate speak, that's usually code for either layoffs or someone's about to get publicly humiliated. It was the latter. And that someone was me. Clive stood at the podium in the main auditorium, clicking through slides with the confidence of a man who'd never been told he was wrong. The Morrison integration, my team's baby, our masterpiece in progress, was plastered across the screen, but it had been butchered beyond recognition. I'm thrilled to announce the new OKR framework for our technical divisions, he began, his voice echoing through the room. After careful analysis, I've identified key areas where we can optimize our human capital allocation. Human capital. We weren't even people anymore. The next slide appeared, a new org chart. My team, my carefully cultivated, personally mentored team, was now labeled Execution Unit 3. Not core systems, not even a department. An execution unit. Going forward, Clive continued, our technical teams will focus on what they do best, executing, the vision work, the strategic thinking, that will be handled by product development. He clicked again. I'll be personally overseeing all architectural decisions to ensure alignment with business objectives. Ray, sitting next to me, whispered. Did he just say he's making our technical decisions? But Clive wasn't done. Oh no, he was just warming up. I want to address some cultural changes as well, he said, his eyes finding me in the crowd. We've been operating under what I call a consensus comfort zone. Too much discussion, too much deliberation, analysis paralysis. Some of our team leads have fostered an environment that's frankly, he paused for effect, too maternal. The word hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Maternal. Not collaborative, not thorough. Maternal. Every head in my vicinity turned slightly toward me. 300 people, and everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Going forward, We need less hand-holding and more accountability, less process and more progress, less talking and more doing. The VP of sales actually applauded. Others joined in, that scattered, uncomfortable clapping that happens when people aren't sure if they should be appalled or impressed. Jennifer grabbed my wrist under the table. Her hand was shaking, or maybe that was mine. But the killing blow came during the Q&A. Someone from marketing asked about the Morrison timeline. Clive's response was a masterclass in character assassination. Great question. The previous timeline was, let's say, conservative. Some might even say fearful. Under my supervision, we'll deliver 30% faster. I've found that when you remove the safety blankets, people actually perform better. Of course, this requires leaders who inspire confidence rather than codependency. He looked directly at me when he said it. 300 people saw him look at me. Marcus stood up. That's Marcus, I said quietly, putting my hand on his shoulder. Don't. Because I understood now. This wasn't incompetence or misunderstanding. This was deliberate, calculated. Clive wasn't trying to improve anything. He was establishing dominance. And if Marcus or anyone else challenged him publicly, they'd be next on the chopping block. After the meeting, I walked back to our floor in a daze. My team was already gathered in our corner conference room, the one with the whiteboards covered in our inside jokes and architecture diagrams. Maternal. Sarah spat out the word like it was poison. I've watched you work 18-hour days. I've seen you fight for every one of us in budget meetings. Maternal? He's trying to force you out, Tommy said, his voice barely above a whisper. He wants you to quit so he doesn't have to fire you. They were all looking at me, waiting for me to say something inspirational, to have a plan, to fix this like I'd fixed every other crisis we'd faced. But I was done fixing, done fighting for a company that would let this happen. Update your portfolios, I said quietly. Make sure your LinkedIn is current, download any personal files from your machines. Amelia. Jennifer started. I'm not telling you to quit, I clarified. I'm telling you to be ready, because this isn't going to get better. That night, I did two things. First, I called Elise Navarro back. The offer from last year, I said without preamble. Is it still on the table? For you? Always. But Amelia, I heard about what happened today. The whole valley is talking about it, that maternal comment. Jesus. You heard already? Someone live-streamed it on LinkedIn. You're trending in tech Twitter, not in a good way for VantageCore. I hadn't even thought to check social media. Sure enough, Maternal Gate was actually trending. Screenshots of Clive's slides, videos of his maternal comment. Tech Twitter was having a field day. The second thing I did was draft my resignation letter. Short, professional. Effective in 2 weeks. I didn't send it yet, but I saved it in my drafts. Subject line ready. Exciting organizational enhancements. Because when you've been publicly humiliated in front of your entire company, called maternal for having standards, and watched HR gaslight you about it, you really only have two choices. Accept it or leave. And I'd built something too good to watch Clive destroy it with his incompetence. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Whatever you're planning, we're in. Followed by Sarah. Ride or die, boss. Then Jennifer. The whole team's talking. We go where you go. I looked at my resignation letter, then at those messages, then at Elise's number in my recent calls. Maybe I had a third choice after all. I sent my resignation email on Monday morning at 9:47 a.m. 2 paragraphs, no drama, no bridges burned, just pursuing new opportunities and grateful for the experience. The kind of boring, professional exit that shouldn't raise any eyebrows. By 10:15 a.m., my phone was vibrating off my desk. Marcus was first. Conference room, now. When I walked in, all 12 of my core team members were there. They'd even pulled in Tommy and the 2 junior developers who'd joined just 3 months ago. So, Sarah said, arms crossed. Were you planning to tell us, Or were we supposed to find out from the company-wide announcement? I didn't want to influence. Bullshit. Marcus interrupted. We're not idiots, Amelia. We saw you updating LinkedIn. We all did the same thing. The only question is, what's the plan? I looked around the room at these brilliant, loyal people who'd trusted me with their careers, who'd built something incredible despite the bureaucracy and politics, and now Clive's systematic destruction of everything we'd created. There is no plan, I said. I'm leaving. You all should do what's best for. I already have 3 interviews lined up, Jennifer announced, including one at Nova Forge Labs. Funny how they suddenly have multiple senior positions open, isn't it? Ray pulled out his laptop. I've been documenting everything. Every decision Clive's overridden, every safety protocol he's ignored, every time he's contradicted himself. 23 pages so far. Why? I asked. Insurance, he said simply. When the Morrison integration fails, and it will fail without us, they'll try to blame it on the team that left. This proves it was failing before we walked out. Tommy, quiet Tommy, who'd been humiliated in front of our biggest client, cleared his throat. I put in my notice this morning, too. 7 minutes after yours. Actually, Tommy, you don't have to. He called me incompetent in front of Morrison Industries. My girlfriend's father works at Morrison. In their tech division. He was on that call. His voice cracked slightly. So yeah, I kind of do have to. One by one, they went around the room. Each had already started their exit strategy. Some had interviews scheduled. Others had been approached by recruiters who'd mysteriously all reached out within the last week. Elise's doing, no doubt, though she'd been subtle about it. We're not coordinating this, I said carefully, very aware that corporate lawyers would be looking for any excuse to sue us for conspiracy or breach of contract. Everyone makes their own individual decision based on their own individual circumstances. Of course, Sarah said with a perfectly straight face. It's pure coincidence that we're all individually deciding to pursue other opportunities at the same time. Just like it's pure coincidence that Nova Forge Labs suddenly needs an entire systems team. Marcus opened his personal laptop. We'd all learned never to do anything personal on company machines. I've created a private Slack workspace, personal emails only, called it Book Club. Because we're just friends discussing literature, right? What kind of literature? Jennifer asked, playing along. Oh, classic themes, revenge, justice, poetic irony, the usual. Over the next few days, the book club Slack became our real office. While we still showed up to VantageCore, did our jobs, attended Clive's increasingly ridiculous meetings, our real communication happened in that private channel. Sarah. Just had my individual coffee with Elise. She's very interested in my individual decision to explore new opportunities. Ray. Recruiter from Technova reached out. Told them I'm happy where I am. Marcus. Clive just asked me to train the offshore team on our code base. Told him I'd need 3 months minimum. He said I have a week. That last one was concerning. If Clive was already planning to replace us with offshore contractors. He must have known about my resignation before I'd even sent it. Someone in HR had probably tipped him off the moment I'd scheduled my exit interview. Jennifer. Overheard Clive on a call. He's telling the board the team transitions are planned optimization. He's taking credit for us leaving. Of course he was. In his narrative, he wasn't losing his entire technical team. He was refreshing the talent pool or some other buzzword nonsense. By Thursday, 8 resignation letters had been submitted. By Friday, the remaining 4 followed. All effective within 2 weeks. As professional courtesy required, all individually decided. Of course, the beauty was in the timing. 2 weeks would put our last day right before the Morrison integration's critical deployment phase. The phase where you actually need people who understand the code, the architecture, the 1,000 tiny decisions that went into building something that complex. Clive called me into his office on Friday afternoon. No more pretense of friendship, no fake smile. I know what you're doing, he said. I'm serving my notice period and transitioning my responsibilities, as outlined in my employment agreement. You're orchestrating a mass exodus. I'm not orchestrating anything. I can't control other people's career decisions. I kept my voice perfectly level. Perhaps if you're concerned about retention, you should examine why so many people are choosing to leave. His face went red. You think you're clever, but non-competes exist for a reason. If I find out you're taking them to a competitor, our non-competes specifically exclude companies that aren't direct competitors in the same market vertical. I recited. I'd had a lawyer review it very carefully. NovaForge Labs operates in a different segment, but I'm sure you knew that, being so detail-oriented about legal matters. He stood up, leaning over his desk. You're destroying this project out of spite. No, Clive. You destroyed it the moment you called my team an execution unit. I'm just refusing to stay and watch. As I walked out of his office, I passed the conference room where 3 offshore contractors were huddled around a screen, trying to make sense of our codebase with no documentation, no context, and no one willing to help them understand it. Marcus had done exactly what he'd promised. He'd given them access to everything, every line of code, every repository, every tool. All perfectly documented in technical language so complex that it would take months to decipher without someone to translate. How's the knowledge transfer going? I asked him. Oh, wonderfully. I've provided comprehensive documentation. All 40,000 lines of it, very thorough, very technical. Very Sanskrit, might be easier to read. The book club Slack pinged with a new message from Jennifer. T-1 week until freedom. Everyone ready for the next chapter? 12 thumbs-up emojis appeared within seconds. We weren't coordinating anything. We were just 12 individuals who happened to be reading the same book, heading toward the same ending, at exactly the same time. The call from Elise Navarro came on Sunday evening, while I was halfway through a bottle of wine and a resignation celebration that consisted of me, my cat, and every takeout menu in a 5-mile radius. Hypothetically, she began, and I could hear the smile in her voice. If someone were to offer you the opportunity to build an entire division from scratch, with full autonomy, double your current budget, and the ability to hire anyone you wanted, what would you say? Hypothetically, I'd ask what the catch is. No catch. Just a CEO who's been watching VantageCore's implosion on tech Twitter and thinking it's the best recruitment opportunity she's seen in a decade. I set down my wine. Elise, what exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing you stop playing defense and start playing offense. Come to NovaForge, build something that makes VantageCore look like a startup's MVP, and bring whoever you want with you. That's poaching. That's the free market, unless you sign something saying you can't work for us. She knew I hadn't. She'd probably had her legal team review every employment contract from VantageCore the moment maternal gate started trending. I need total control, I said. Tech stack, methodology, hiring decisions, everything. Done. And my team already has interviews scheduled. Individual interviews, of course. We're not coordinating anything. Her tone was perfectly innocent. We just happen to have multiple positions that match their exact skill sets. What are the odds? By Monday morning, the book club Slack was buzzing with barely contained excitement. Sarah. Just got an offer. It's substantial. Marcus, define substantial. Sarah. Remember what we make now? Add 40%. Ray. Same. Plus equity. Jennifer. They're offering relocation packages too. Full moving costs, temporary housing, the works. Tommy. I haven't even interviewed yet, and they sent me a provisional offer letter to review while considering my options. I sat in my soon-to-be former office at VantageCore, watching my team try to contain their excitement while Clive strutted around like he'd won something. He'd already sent out an email about exciting changes and fresh perspectives coming to the technical team. The next few days were surreal. We came to work, attended meetings, nodded along as Clive explained his vision to increasingly confused offshore contractors. But everyone knew we were already gone. We were ghosts haunting our own desks. Wednesday afternoon, Clive called another all-hands for the tech division. I want to address the recent transitions, he began. his confidence seemingly unshaken. Change is hard, but it's also opportunity. The departing team members have chosen paths that better align with their comfort levels. We're bringing in hungry, innovative talent that isn't afraid of transformation. Marcus actually snorted, out loud. Something to add, Marcus? Clive asked, his tone dangerous. Just clearing my throat, Marcus replied. Must be all that transformation in the air. But Clive's bravado cracked a bit when someone from product asked about the Morrison timeline. We're adjusting our projections slightly, he admitted, but I'm confident. How slightly? It was the VP of sales, and he didn't look happy. We're looking at a 3-week delay, maximum. I watched Ray quietly screenshot that statement. 3 weeks? With no one who understood the architecture, they'd be lucky to deploy in 3 months. Thursday was my last day, and I spent it in back-to-back knowledge transfer meetings. I was scrupulously professional, documenting everything, answering every question, creating guides that were technically complete but required years of context to actually understand. This authentication module, one of the offshore contractors asked, pointing at a particularly complex piece of code. Why is it structured this way? Well, I began, launching into a 40-minute explanation involving 7 different legacy systems, 3 deprecated APIs, and a custom solution Marcus had built to handle an edge case that occurred 0.01% of the time, but would crash everything if not handled properly. His eyes glazed over by minute 5. Is there documentation? He asked hopefully. Of course. I pulled up a 200-page technical specification that looked like it was written in ancient Sumerian. It's all here. That evening, my team gathered at a bar 5 blocks from the office. Not a goodbye party. That would be too obvious. Just 12 friends who happened to be at the same place at the same time. So, Jennifer raised her glass. To new chapters? To new chapters. We echoed. Sarah pulled out her phone. Elise just sent me something. Said to share it with my book club. She showed us a floor plan, an entire floor in NovaForge's newest building. State-of-the-art everything. A kitchen that wasn't just a sad microwave and ancient coffee maker. Conference rooms with actual windows. And in the center, a huge open space marked Innovation Lab, Systems Division. That's ours? Tommy asked, his voice barely above a whisper. That's ours, I confirmed. If you all happen to individually decide to accept your individual offers. Marcus was already pulling up NovaForge's benefits package on his phone. They have actual work-life balance, like it's in writing, and mental health days, and a coffee machine that makes actual cappuccinos. The coffee machine sealed it for me. Ray laughed. My phone buzzed with a text from Elise. Legal wants me to confirm that we're not coordinating anything, so I'm definitely not telling you that your whole team's offers are approved and ready whenever they individually decide to sign. Definitely not saying that. I looked around at these brilliant people who'd chosen to follow me into uncertainty rather than stay in comfortable misery. Who'd trusted me enough to leap without knowing where we'd land. Monday morning, I said, we start building something amazing. Individually. Of course. Of course, they chorused, grinning. As we left the bar, I got one last email from VantageCore, an automated system message. Your access has been terminated. Thank you for your service. Below it, a personal email from someone in HR. Clive wants to schedule an exit interview to discuss your team's coordinated departure. Legal will be present. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a single word. Handle. Then I deleted every VantageCore email, removed their apps from my phone, and took a picture of my blank keycard before dropping it in the trash. Monday couldn't come fast enough. We'd been at NovaForge for exactly 3 weeks when Elise called me into her office with a grin that could only be described as predatory. You're going to want to see this, she said, turning her laptop toward me. It was a press release draft, scheduled for tomorrow morning. The headline read, NovaForge Labs announces Revolutionary Systems Division, led by former VantageCore Innovation Team. That's pretty aggressive, I said. Oh, sweetie, That's just the appetizer. Keep reading. The release detailed our new division's capabilities, our team's combined experience, and, this was the kicker, announced we'd already secured 3 major enterprise clients who'd specifically requested to work with Amelia Rowe's renowned engineering team. We can't claim they're renowned, I protested. We're not claiming it. TechCrunch called you that last week. We're just quoting. She pulled up the article. Sure enough, there it was, along with speculation about VantageCore's catastrophic brain drain and Clive's questionable leadership decisions. But the best part, Elise continued, is the photo. She clicked to the next page. It was a professional shot of all 12 of us in NovaForge's gleaming innovation lab, standing in front of a wall of monitors displaying complex architecture diagrams. We looked like what we were, a team that knew exactly what they were doing. When did we take this? Yesterday, during your lunch break. Marketing's been planning this for weeks. I stared at the image. We looked good. Really good. Happy, confident, professional. Everything we hadn't been in those final weeks at VantageCore. The release goes out at 6 a.m. Eastern, Elise said. That gives VantageCore approximately 2 hours before markets open to figure out damage control. You're evil, I said, but I was smiling. I'm strategic. There's a difference. That evening, our book club Slack was electric with anticipation. Marcus. Marketing wants individual quotes about why we chose NovaForge. How honest should I be? Sarah. I went with excited to work with visionary leadership that values technical excellence. Ray. I said thrilled to join a company that understands innovation requires both speed and quality. Jennifer. Mine's just looking forward to building something exceptional with exceptional people. Tommy. They asked me specifically about the Morrison call. Said I could decline to comment. Me. What did you say? Tommy. That NovaForge values every team member's expertise, regardless of seniority. Marcus. Damn, Tommy. That's savage. The press release dropped exactly at 6 a.m. By 6:30, my phone was exploding. Journalists, recruiters, former colleagues, everyone wanted to know the real story. I ignored them all, but I did watch the chaos unfold on professional media. By 7 a.m., VantageCore's stock price had dropped 3% in pre-market trading. By 8 a.m., Elise forwarded me an email from Morrison Industries. They wanted a meeting. With us, specifically us. They can't do that, Sarah said when I told the team. We have non-competes. Non-competes that specifically exclude non-competing market segments, I reminded her. And Morrison Industries technically isn't our client anymore. The integration failed yesterday. It what? Ray pulled up his phone, scrolling through tech news. Holy shit, VantageCore delays Morrison integration indefinitely. Posted 40 minutes ago. Jennifer found the details. Anonymous source says the deployment failed 17 critical tests. Data corruption issues, security vulnerabilities. The whole thing's being rolled back. We sat in stunned silence. We'd known it would fail without us. But this fast? This completely? Marcus was doing math on a whiteboard. If they miss the Q3 deadline, that's minimum $20 million in penalties, plus the lost revenue, plus the cost to fix it. $50 million, Tommy said quietly. The contract specified $50 million in total damages for a failed integration. Elise appeared in our workspace, practically glowing. Conference room, now, all of you. We filed in to find her on a video call with someone I recognized immediately, Morrison's CTO, the same one who'd witnessed Tommy's humiliation. Ms. Rowe, he said without preamble. I'll be direct. We want to move our contract to NovaForge, the entire thing. 100 million base with performance bonuses. We appreciate the interest, I began carefully. But there may be legal complications. Already handled, our lawyers say VantageCore breached contract by failing to maintain adequate staffing. We're free to engage whoever we choose. He paused. We want the team that actually built our solution, not whatever that was supposed to be. After he hung up, Elise turned to us with that predatory grin again. Now for the really fun part, the announcement. Another press release? I asked. Oh no, this deserves something special. She pulled up a social media post, already drafted on NovaForge's official account. It was a photo of our team in the innovation lab, but now with a subtle addition, the Morrison Industries logo visible on one of the screens. The caption was poetry. Welcome to NovaForge Lab's newest innovation partners. Our systems division, 12 exceptional minds, one unified vision. Some see disruption, we see opportunity. Some lose talent, we gain family. Their 50 motivators loss, priceless to us. Innovation done right. Team first. Nova Forge family. I started. Petty? Elise suggested. Absolutely, but sometimes petty is profitable. Sarah was already pulling up LinkedIn. Oh my God, look at VantageCore's page. They'd posted a response to the news about the failed integration, clearly written by Clive. Technical transitions are opportunities for growth. We remain confident in our new agile approach. The comments were brutal. Former clients questioning their contracts. Investors asking pointed questions. And there, buried in the responses, someone had posted a screenshot of Clive's maternal comment with a simple addition. This aged well. Marcus leaned back in his chair. You know what the best part is? We didn't plan any of this. We just left. The destruction is entirely self-inflicted. The photo should go live in an hour, Elise said. Any objections? I looked around at my team, my family, really. They were all grinning. Make it so, I said. Elise hit post, and we watched the internet explode in real time. Within minutes, it had hundreds of reactions. The comments started pouring in. This is the most elegant corporate murder I've ever witnessed. VantageCore's board meeting tomorrow is going to be spicy. Note to self, don't call your tech lead maternal. But the comment that made us all lose it was from an anonymous account with a very familiar writing style. Congratulations to the book club on their new chapter. It was definitely Jennifer's boyfriend's father from Morrison Industries. As we sat there, watching VantageCore's reputation crumble while ours soared, I couldn't help but think about Clive, probably in some emergency meeting, trying to explain how he'd lost $50 million by gaining fresh perspectives. You know, Tommy said, speaking up with more confidence than I'd heard in months. He was right about one thing. We are an execution unit. How's that? I asked. We just executed a perfect extraction. The room erupted in laughter. Even Elise, usually so composed, was wiping tears from her eyes. We'd done it. We'd turned our exodus into their catastrophe, our new beginning into their very public end. And we'd done it all without breaking a single rule or violating a single clause. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Building something extraordinary at NovaForge. But today we were going to savor this moment. The emergency board meeting at VantageCore happened at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know this because someone live-streamed it. Not officially, of course, someone with a phone hidden under the conference table, broadcasting the audio to a private Discord server that somehow had 5,000 tech workers listening in real time. Clive's voice was different. Gone was the smooth confidence, the practiced authority. He sounded like what he was, a man drowning in consequences he never saw coming. The integration can be salvaged, he insisted. We just need more resources. $50 million. That was the CEO, and he sounded tired. You cost us $50 million in 3 weeks. The team that left was obviously planning this sabotage. The team that left, the CFO interrupted, documented every concern, every override, every ignored protocol. Their lawyer sent us a lovely package yesterday. Would you like me to read your email dismissing security reviews as paranoid overthinking? The livestream cut off after someone said, "Motion to terminate." But we didn't need to hear more. By 5 p.m., Clive Roston's LinkedIn showed him as former director of product development at VantageCore. He lasted exactly 67 days. Standing in my new office at Nova Forge, yes, I had an actual office now, with windows and everything. I watched my team through the glass walls. Marcus was teaching the junior developers his infamous debugging dance. Sarah had set up her triple monitor fortress. Jennifer was leading an architecture review with the confidence of someone who'd never been called too maternal for having standards. Tommy approached my door, knocking hesitantly. "Amelia, the Morrison team wants to send something." He handed me his phone. It was an email from their CTO with a photo attached. They'd sent us a custom cake, shaped like a server rack, with 12 layers. The inscription read, "To the team that executes with excellence." Also, Tommy added, grinning, "I just got accepted to speak at DevConf. The topic? Building resilient teams in toxic environments." That's incredible, Tommy. You went from being silenced to having a platform. We all did, he said simply. My phone buzzed with a news alert. TechCrunch again. Vantage Core stock drops 12% following leadership shakeup and client exodus. The article detailed how 3 more major clients had followed Morrison's lead, specifically requesting to work with proven teams rather than untested leadership. The final tally wasn't just the $50 million from Morrison. It was closer to $70 million in lost contracts, $20 million in damage control, and immeasurable reputation damage. All because one man thought breaking things was the same as building them. Sarah knocked and entered. "The whole team's asking if you've seen this." She showed me her phone. It was a Reddit thread titled, "The Most Satisfying Corporate Revenge Story You'll Read This Year." Someone had compiled the entire saga, the maternal comment, our synchronized exit, the failed integration, Clive's termination, everything. It had 40,000 upvotes and climbing. The top comment? "Note to managers, your team doesn't work for you, they work with you. Forget that at your peril." Marcus burst in without knocking, as usual. "Emergency book club meeting, now." We gathered in our new conference room, the one with actual comfortable chairs and a coffee machine that could make 17 different types of coffee. Everyone was there, the same 12 who'd walked through hell together. "I have an announcement," Marcus said formally, then broke into a huge grin. "We just got nominated for the Tech Team of the Year award. The nomination specifically mentions our seamless transition under pressure and maintaining excellence despite adversity." The room erupted. We'd gone from being an execution unit to being recognized as one of the best teams in tech. In 3 weeks. Elise appeared in the doorway, champagne in hand. "I believe a celebration is in order, not just for the nomination, but for everything. You didn't just survive. You didn't just leave. You orchestrated one of the most brilliant corporate moves I've ever seen." "We didn't orchestrate anything," I protested. But I was smiling. "We just refused to be diminished." "Even better," she said, popping the cork. "You won by being exactly who you are." As we toasted, I thought about the journey. 6 years building something beautiful at Vantage Core. 10 weeks watching someone try to destroy it. 3 weeks rebuilding it somewhere better. And one very public victory that we never had to fight for. Clive had defeated himself the moment he mistook leadership for dominance. Jennifer raised her glass one more time. "To the book club." "To the book club," we echoed. But I had my own toast, silent in my head. To every team lead who's been called too maternal for caring. To every engineer who's been silenced for knowing better. To every professional who's been told their standards are too high. We didn't burn the bridge, we built a better one. And this time, no one could tear it down. I looked out at my team, brilliant, loyal, vindicated, and knew with absolute certainty that the best revenge isn't destroying those who wronged you. It's succeeding so spectacularly that their failure becomes a footnote in your success story. Clive Roston thought he was the catalyst for change. He was right, just not the way he intended. Thank you so much for listening to this story of corporate karma and sweet revenge. I'm curious, where are you listening to this? In your car during a commute? At the gym? Maybe hiding from your own toxic boss? Drop a comment and let me know. I love connecting with fellow survivors of corporate chaos. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts below. Have you ever witnessed a mass exodus like this? Or better yet, been part of one? Let's chat in the comments.